Jen, I'm so excited. We have so much to share. We're going to share next our first meeting after I went to Euro Cucina, which people have been seeing our Design Week posts and stuff. So stay tuned, stay for the rest of that so you can see Jen and I talking about all new stuff, and you'll get a hint for what else we're doing. Would you like to talk Euro Cucina first?
I want to hear all about it because one, I'm jealous as a designer to not get to go. It is like, oh, so sad. But I want to hear firsthand what you were drawn to, what was inspiring. And I always think shows like that are reality versus aspirational. And so
Right.
I really want to focus on, I love the aspirational, but I really want the reality of things we can use.
Yeah, I think overall, we both thought it was worthwhile. And so to be able to look at things together and me to go, do you like this or do you like that? It was great. It was really interesting to see it. It definitely was Italian led. Even though it's an international show, it's very much international. People from all over are coming to it, but they were Italian kitchens. And thankfully I live here.
An Italian kitchen, because like I grew up in Europe and, obviously it's flat panel, full overlay, smooth, clean, crisp, color in unexpected ways, refined quality of materials and also unexpected materials, and then fashion forward. What in your brain makes it Italian?
Yeah, so no hint to traditional, no Ethan Allen style cabinetry. Very much smooth panel. It was interesting to see what was new. I did a little research beforehand, so it was fun when I spotted those things new. But it's also things like when you go into one of the appliances, because appliances are shown there as well, and no refrigerators have a drink dispenser. That doesn't exist. The few that I've found in stores, you actually take a bottle of water and pour it into something that would make you ice cubes or give you water. Like there is no hooking something up to a water line here, which was amazing to me. But at the store, so I thought, oh well, we'll see what really exists at the international show, and you couldn't find any drink dispensing, any water dispensing things.
You know what we're doing in supplement to that, because there are some like people who love you. We do a lot of panel ready fridges in just American design.
Right.
A lot of the separate LK wall like water bottle fillers. We're doing more of that now. And that's a fun solution to kind of almost bring a little bit of America to Europe.
I like that. Yeah.
Concept. Yep. And that has a chiller too. So we could
because
look at
Europe needs to hydrate more is all I'm saying. Those people do not hydrate enough because you have to carry so many bottles.
It's all vino.
It is. But I would say the big, huge theme for me is, I think Matt called it kitchen obscura. So hidden everything you can possibly hide to just make it look like you have a big rectangle in a room that might be your kitchen. Was the theme. So behind this rectangle, these doors come out and then go in, and there's like, oh my gosh, a whole stainless steel kitchen working space. And you think this is the countertop, but wait, we can pull it back, and underneath the countertop is a sink. And it was like everything.
So it's like the David Copperfield of kitchens. So like
everybody, yes.
I do think, and I'm seeing that more in American design too, where you're trying to hide real life, but still make it function. So how do you make it easy, but also easy to put away should you want to feel? Because I mean, that goes back to the mental health aspect of kitchens, that if it's in order and clean, your brain is in order. And I think I see more of people not wanting stuff all over their counters and all of that. So I love that. A lot of things about organization and everything. Did you leave with actual items and gadgets and interiors that you're like, I want to implement these?
We definitely did. In our what's going to be our show kitchen, there's not a ton of room to walk around and have as big a space as we want. But if we did have a counter that could expand when we needed it to expand, but stayed smaller when it's just an everyday thing, is a very good idea. I don't really think I want something that would cover up my whole sink, but that is an interesting idea because a faucet matters more to me.
Mhm.
What a faucet can do, than that the faucet will go underneath the sink. So I don't want a no frills faucet because it'll go down and up. I want a
Mhm.
faucet with I want
Yeah.
things in my faucet.
Did you
Um,
see any of the faucets that one, they can do seltzer water now? Then there's some that have the integrated heat, so you don't have to have the separate hot water boiling faucet. And there's one now that does espresso, which is weird. It's
yes.
with the K cups in it.
Yes, yes, yes. So that was at Jessie, GESSI, and we loved their booth. One of the most beautiful booths there. Jessie had some really beautiful, new, inventive, innovative in the shape, the design. It wasn't like, is this form over function or function over form? They thought about it all. So I definitely think we like that idea of a kitchen that has some expansion opportunities.
Mhm.
I'm not necessarily worried about hiding things to surprise. I want it to be easy and one more thing to open. Like I don't like a kitchen cabinet that opens and then you pull out a drawer. It should just be a drawer if it needs to be a drawer.
Agreed, agreed.
Um, and then a weird thing that I definitely will make sure we don't do, but they do in Italy, and I don't understand why, is their placement of door handles and drawer handles. They care more that every single thing is right than that it's the way you would want it to be. So like if you have you can imagine where you'd put a door handle if you had to open a dishwasher, like a paneled dishwasher, but if they were all upright, they would put it on the side. And so you'd have to like pull it down weird, or to have them all be the same, they'd put them all at the top middle. So you'd think it was a dishwasher, but it was a door that opened this way and not, there were so many things we tried to open. We're like, oh, this is a refrigerator, but the handle is across the top. It was so,
You know
I
what
don't
that is,
know,
though?
weird.
That's all the psychology of it, because, for example, if
Mm,
someone's an engineer or whatever, they might hate it not lining up perfect, but what I hear
shit.
you saying is, "I want it to function. I want it to work the
Yeah,
way I need it to work," and then beauty can in line with that. So, there are some
definitely.
things where we'll kind of push it a little, but I hear
Yeah.
you on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a great, I don't know if you listen to 99% Invisible. It's an NPR podcast. They're
I
short
listen
little
to
ones.
murder podcasts, so no.
Oh, I like those too. But they had I remember one from like a couple years ago they did on push and pull doorknobs, and how like we've gone out into this world, and you know when you walk into a door you're like, oh, it's a pull. Like
Yeah.
they said that's not actually your fault. It's because they've given you a visual signal that says, it's a
Mhm.
pull, and you need to push. And so ever since then I'm like, okay, now I do want it to function and be beautiful because I am an artist. So for me, that's not how to lay out um the handles. It's we need different handles that will work for
Mhm.
both of these things. This is sort of
Mhm.
like where I like to go. But as a former editor, when we couldn't figure out how to make a sentence work, we'd say, oh, we just need to rewrite the sentence. We don't stop making these words work, and we'll just rewrite it so it's right. So when we hit those spots in this, like that's a good, I think, time for us
You're
to go,
also
okay, well,
more
what can
of a
we do different?
you're a risk taker more than most. You're not gonna need
Yes,
everything to look perfect, and I think that's
right,
the grace that is given to you when it happens, that it'll look intentional because you like that kind of fun story you're telling.
right, exactly. Let's see, other things. I fell in love with an induction stovetop.
Oh, I actually like induction.
I know
You
I told you I didn't. You said go look at inductions. I was like, I have one right now and I do not like it. I found out I just don't like the one I have, and I don't like a lot of them. But I
which
found
line did
one.
you
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me this. What is the name of the line? Bora? I think it's Bora, Bora. And we liked their refrigerator and we liked their stovetop. And here's what I've learned about what I do and don't like for a stovetop, regardless of if it's gas, electric,
like?
induction, is that I don't want to have to clean around the knobs. I don't like knobs on a thing. I've been at so many places where from just cleaning it, and Sicilians are crazy cleaners. They're very, very clean people. And pretty much you can't tell what it's set at anymore because every oven I've cooked on has had it scrubbed off. So this one has their Pro Series has knobs that get installed on the front of whatever your countertop is that comes over. You install it on the front. They're just like a little knob feature, and you can mix and match. You can have a grill and 2 gas burners and 2 induction burners, and then drop in vents right next to it. It's beautiful, genius. I'll send you information about it.
The good thing is you went in willing to learn and be open to it, and that's all that a consumer needs to do is put away your preconceived notions and be open to that adventure. And like, it's an archaic concept. Yes, professional cooks love their gas ranges. That kind of became that commercial kitchen, the standard that everyone wanted to kind of achieve in their homes and feel like a professional kitchen. But there's something to be said about a nice, clean, cleanable surface and
Mhm.
the unexpected, like that it's
Right.
better than you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I just tell people try it. So I'm glad. That's awesome.
Yeah, and what I would add, and we'll talk about more of this when we are not talking about Cucina, but I want to point out, like, this is one of those places where I can clearly point out why it's good to work with a professional like you, because you told me to look for this, and I would have just ignored every single induction. And can I tell you, I could probably count on my 2 hands how many gas ranges there were. Everything was induction. It was just, what kind of induction do you want? And even like inductions built into countertops, like you can't see them. You said this and I thought, you know what? I am working with Jen because I trust her as a person, and I love her as a designer. I love
Thanks.
you as a person too, but I love you as a designer. And I was like, she wouldn't steer me wrong. I'm missing something, and I'm going to see if I can find what that is. I'm not going to say no until I've really researched it. So that
Yay.
was a fantastic, fantastic example of something that has already changed my mind about something and really helped me. And I have this new love. And I also know, like, if somebody says they hate their induction, I have more information now for
Yeah.
them.
Well,
Um,
and don't you think Italians are about a joy of life? And if you think
yes.
about it, you don't want to spend forever cleaning a gas range. And to each his own. Some people
Yeah.
love it, they take pride in it. But I think there's something to be said about the seamlessness and the integration you can
Yeah.
have and the cleanness of it. So I'm excited.
Hmm.
I also
Yeah.
love that you love color. And so that I'm excited for.
Yes. And then the Bora refrigerator was just one of the nicest setups. So the European refrigerators are smaller. This was a side. It was really 2 units. I believe it's 2 units. You can never tell
Yeah,
because
they
it was a
do
built-in.
columns a lot now in
Yes, exactly. It was 2 columns. And usually, like, a freezer is the drawer in the bottom, and then it's got 3 drawers in it, and you can't see what you have, whatever. So I really like this one. So that was great. I've seen, I think Smeg has one we also like, but
I
I
love
was
Smeg.
like, this one's
Smeg makes
beautiful.
me happy. Smeg is
They really
awesome.
do. And I have another video we haven't posted yet because I'm going to do a whole video on color and color ranges because so many people like did the colors of the rainbow on all their products, faucets, the refrigerator stuff. So I have a fun video that's going to come out with that. But Smeg has a they're the one you think of usually when you think of a Smeg, it's about this
Yeah,
tall as a person, and
yeah.
the color range is all matte. So it's a rainbow in matte, and I'm loving the matte appliances right now. I mean, I got one. I have the matte Bertazzoni oven for the
Mm.
guest house. So that was just gorgeous. But what I really want is a rainbow of them, and I don't need 8. So that's a problem.
Like, in terms of cabinets and, like, finishes that you were drawn to, what
Yeah.
what do you see a lot of?
So that's the hardest thing for me because everything was just a flat panel. And to me, they used a lot of wood, like none of them seemed to be wood. I prefer a natural substance,
Mm.
natural
You like a real
thing.
grain, something
Right,
not a well, and you can have a veneer and it be like real
right.
wood, just not
Yes.
solid because it
Yeah.
works best for that application. But to
Yeah.
you, if they felt more faux, was everything a high
Yeah.
gloss in the cabinets, or did
A
they do
lot of
matte
a
too?
lot of gloss. not as much high gloss. I was expecting a lot more like glass red
Mhm.
cabinetry. There wasn't a lot of that. They did go with a ton of people had more just really out there surfaces on countertops for
Mhm.
countertop surfaces. Like really, gosh, I just feel like they're all going to age out in 2.5 years.
Everyone's
Bold.
embracing colored marbles, dramatic veining, big
Hmm.
drifts. You're seeing a lot of like
A lot of that.
the waterfalled front of the
Hmm.
countertop to 7 inches, or dropping them down and turning them into cabinet doors. That's been peeking around for the last
Yeah.
few years. But I think, like, to your point of, will it age out? So I have jade green quartzite countertop. Make me
Beautiful.
really happy. Will the next homeowner like them? Probably not. They'll probably be like, "Who's the weirdo who likes jade green?" But I always think, yes, design for resale, but also design for what makes you happy,
Right,
and that's
right,
what life is about. So I think the thing is, pick and choose your battles. You're designing an art piece of a
right,
palazzo. So what
right.
is that dramatic story? And you're in the birthplace and home of marble. Like,
Exactly.
if
I
you don't
know.
have
It's
marble,
so
we're in trouble.
well, and speaking of marble, a thin profile was
Mm,
so prevalent, was everywhere. Like, and
choose
I have a video that I'm going to do that too. Like
yeah.
everybody had, because essentially, I feel like when I've done it before, they basically double up the edge. It's not like really
Minor
that thick of a
now.
whole piece, right? Yeah. And this, they just are doing, I don't know,
So,
centimeter
like,
and a
in
half.
countertops, oh, yay. Okay, so 2 cm or 3 cm, but maybe they're
Yeah.
going less.
Okay. Well, here's another design question for you that I wondered the whole time I was going through this show is like, if I found a faucet that I just love, I'll use one faucet for example. I don't know if this is it, but the first faucet we saw at Jesse was a faucet definitely inspired by a very expensive handbag. It was just beautiful. And from far away, I was like, I need to go touch this. So the main body of the faucet, whether it came out or whatever, just the main body was metal, but it looked like a quilted purse or quilted. It just looked like a quilted material, just black on black, no stitching. Just it definitely was
A
carved into
little ode to Chanel there.
fantastic. And then the faucet looked like a little strip of leather that had been, um, uh, what do they call it? Just brought back together with the little grommet, like a grommet on it, and it looked like leather. And then I touched it and I was like, this is like so cool. Like, could I love this. Say I will love this thing. Like, at what point am I putting the cart before the horse that you find something you really like
There
and
is
then
nothing wrong with choosing the faucet first and saying, "This is my starting point." Nothing wrong. I think I always approach design a little more from an artist perspective anyway. You're
okay.
creating feeling and vibe. However, function always has to work. So if we go and
Yes.
talk about that faucet and we're like, "It looks great, but you're not going to be able to clean your dishes with it,"
Right.
or are we going to have a separate
Yeah.
held spray, or maybe that faucet's better for your powder room.
Right.
So I always start with talking function and utility, but your reaction to that faucet says that is something that should be in your world if it fits your budget,
Right.
because of the visceral reaction to it.
Yeah.
Now you just have to decide what is the right application for it.
Right. Right.
And I
Right.
think every room you'll have different starting points. And then
Okay.
my job as you fall in love with stuff is say, okay, cool, awesome, noted, pause it. Now
Yeah.
let's talk about what material it's going on,
Right.
where's the plumbing coming
Perfect.
from, and
Yeah.
digging backwards from that.
Yeah.
But the fact that you went across a room to go look it, touch it, feel it, how awesome.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
yay for that
It
design.
was so great. And I was by this point in the show, I was really getting a little disappointed with the faucets. And part of that is because I was hoping to go in and see all these options for kitchen faucets and stuff, and I wasn't. And or I was seeing them, but none of them seemed to make sense to me. They just weren't. They were definitely form over function. Because I was like, this is like going back in time. This is like they're inventing what I had in 1980. And then I went into this booth and there was so much. They had rain. Everybody's got a rain shower. A rain shower is nothing new. That's like all they showed. And then when you saw something that wasn't a rain shower, you're like, oh. beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's a beautiful one they have that is almost like a glass sculpture that the
Yeah.
rain comes out of. And you're just like, okay, somebody can do something other than this. And then they thought about all of the innovation that went in it and how you can adjust the, it was great. They've got a great design team that's thinking about form and function there, and had nothing boring in their booth, but nothing was so out of the top that off over the top that if you put it in your house, you'd be like, oh, you're a fancy faucet person. You just would think, like, if it was well designed, which I know you're going to help me do, you'd be like, oh, wow, that is an amazing faucet. I didn't notice it because I noticed the gestalt of it all and not just the thing. And going back now, I see, oh yeah, that's fantastic. I don't know. It just was, it was one of the great companies, and definitely think we'll have a couple faucets from them.
Yeah.
So that was good.
What I want you to do is, as you start to fall in love with stuff, we need a file that just
Okay.
has loves. So you're going to start just saving them, because those are what we're going to shop from. Then
Okay.
it doesn't mean we're going to use everything, but it just means they passed your
Great.
first test. They passed your
Excellent.
first test of, did it make me happy, and go from there.
Perfect.
And part of, I think, is when you approach it from like an artistic perception as well as having function, then that's when you start to decide, where is my eye going to go? To still make it feel well designed, we don't want it competing with everything, but in that space, is it that faucet dragging me into it first and going from there? That's the fun part of design. Is I always tell people, there's no wrong answer. There's a lot of better choices, but it's very personal. You can design one kitchen 85 ways for one person, but it's kind of figuring out their loves. So when I do design, it's really the psychology. It's me figuring out your brain, because how I would design it for me is totally different than how I would design it for you. But because you like an artistic approach, my job will be to, one, make sure it's always still functioning as you do it. Two, make sure it doesn't look crazy, schizophrenic in its and then also make sure that if you were to ever rent out the space, it functioned for others. So it's got to function for your family, but function for others, because there's that underlying, will we ever rent it out, which I think you're doing, or hosting events and stuff like that.
We're keeping all the options open, which is maybe good and maybe makes it more difficult. I haven't decided which way it goes, but it justifies me buying nice things. So that's good.
And I think how we'll start to do it is we're going to get your guest house done, which you've already started before I showed up. My job is just to help watch it from eyeballs, help you finalize things you haven't committed to yet. I also get to start being your other sounding board. Matt will enjoy it or not enjoy it. Matt can come in too. I always think to reference back when you said you brought Matt and you were asking him which he liked. There was a time period when husbands didn't care, or partners didn't care. And they were like, as long as the louder person's happy. However, that has changed. It's gotten to be everyone in the family cares, even kids. We have raised the younger generation to be very opinionated, which could be good or bad, but that everyone has a voice. And I think that's awesome. And that's good design works for everyone in the house, and everyone has a happy moment. I have one client that before we commit to final designs, she runs it by her kids, and they have a family meeting, and
I love that.
Say, yeah. I mean, that's great. For you, your kids, you're building a house that your kids won't have grown up in, but how do you make it still feel like them when they come home to visit? And that becomes personal. That is in the artwork we choose and stuff like that. One house I did, we had an artist. The daughter loved Marie Antoinette. So we had an artist paint a big painting of Marie Antoinette. And that's a kind of one of a kind piece. So like, I just think when we start to get to those points, but first it's about layout and floor plan and all of that, which is, a whole adventure in an old house. And luckily your architect is digging in. So I let him do phase one. Then I jump in to look at it with other eyeballs, and then start layering into it. How fun. I do want you to begin your homework. Every meeting we have, we will always give you a little homework to do. So you've
Yep.
got your board of must-haves or
Yep.
love. But then I also want you to start lists of local craftsmen as you start
Okay.
in your region,
Yep.
starting to foray in artists. And I love working with artists. I don't care if there's a language barrier, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think anytime we can do that, that's going to add that wow factor that you want in each room. And
Yeah.
then we can layer into it. But I also like to know ahead of time, far down the road, what we might put into it. So, like, I'm sure you know this, and it'll be interesting because plaster walls are very different. But like in American construction, you have to know ahead of time if you want backing in walls to support
Right.
anything that's going to be heavy or anchoring.
Yep.
So it's just us knowing, like, is there going to be a heavy chandelier coming off that ceiling, or are we going to anchor a cabinet to the wall where the dining table comes down, or stuff like that. So talking into the future and then coming back and picking our things as we go, but being prepared because we never want to go backwards. We only want to go forward.
Right. Yeah. Life's too short to go backwards.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And it adds money and costs that we don't want. We want to spend money wisely.
Slowly, piano piano, slowly.
Yes.
It'll come.
This is all you need to know how to say. Vorrei un vino locale bianco, per favore. I need a local white wine, please.
Perfect. And Sicilians will make you drink Sicilian wine. So you don't even have to say local. You just say wine. That's all they'll offer you. So you don't need wine from Tuscany.
I feel like you're going to like Sicilians.
You're really going to like it. Excellent. All right. I will work on my homework and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, perfect.